Okay, here's the third and final pass for this color study of quin rose and ultramarine blue. I have a nice creamy puddle mixed up here of my of my quin rose. So I'm going to start in with that and glaze layer one more time. Nice soft touch, trying to mostly coax the colored water, the watery color around, as opposed to brushing it with a lot of pressure. Let's see, that's good for that one. Want to try to get a nice creamy pure. I have some color, a few different color paints still mixed up that I'm gonna try to just use again, make sure I don't waste them. Sometimes it's hard to decide if would be best to wipe away the color and have a nice clean area to mix, or to just use a small area for whatever area you can. I'm going to do this. Nice, there's my red and my blue. So let's go for this middle row that is sort of an equal combination of each. That is seeming like, actually, as I look at it, this... Now I'm going to stick with my pattern. Yeah, come on, teacher. Let's try to sort of aim for the middle here. It's kind of mostly trying to be kind of just a straight violet in between that pinkish red and this reddish blue. I am going to stick with that. Let's see, okay. And next, let's mix in a little bit more of the rose. Kind of grabbing some paint over. I know it's pretty pure color over there on the left side. Yeah, so I can talk more about where on the well I try to grab color from later, but that seems like it's definitely leaning to red. Maybe I want it a little bit more red. Yeah. Let's try that. one of the many other things I discussed in class was the sort of subjective nature of color and how it's such a comparative phenomenon, and that really takes two colors next to each other before you really understand what's going on with each of them. Seems a little too blue to me still. By the time it starts getting dark like this, it can be a little bit harder to tell. But I'm going to take this opportunity to do a little adjusting on the fly as opposed to letting it dry first. Add a little bit of water. I'm going to just make kind of a thirsty brush and take away some of that color. Maybe it was just too much darn paint in there. But I'm going to come over here and try to adjust it with mostly just a little bit more quin rose. So this, at this point, you know, it's much more kind of mixing on the page, on the paper. And doing too much of this, which I think I already am a little bit, can give it sort of that overbrushed, overworked look. I still try to remember that I'm coaxing things around more than brushing and painting it in. And oftentimes it will have the effect of having a little bit darker color towards the edge of the shape, which is actually something I quite love. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, and in fact, for me, is a good thing. It's good to sort of be in charge of deciding when that happens, but that's okay. There was just a little bit too much paint and not quite enough red. So I adjusted that. As I look at the quin rose, I might even be able to come back and do a stronger layer on that of quinacridone rose when it's dry. But either way, let's move on to the blue violet. So I'm going to need to bring in a decent amount of just the blue. Let's see, maybe I'll bring some of you over here, some of you over here. Talking to my watercolor paints. Kind of fun. All this mixing, I hope you enjoy, because it really, the more you sort of learn about color and the more you can identify different hues and subtle differences by adding just a little bit of one color, it gets quite fun. I think that needs a little bit more blue. Does it? Let's see. I wanted it to just be a little bit bluer and a little darker. was kind of interesting. It seemed like I was off in each of these sort of this row and this row in kind of a similar way. I originally made that a little bit too blue and that one a little bit too red. Interesting. I think I'm gonna let that dry and decide what to do at that point. So you up a little bit. Okay.